And laissez les bon temps rouler. Hi there. Oh yeah, peg tooth. Believe me, I know what it's like being on the pager. It's like just hearing it going off. Ugh, and my entire body jumps. Hi there, everyone. Welcome to Cast Iron. Well, Thursday, kind of like it was, as we've mentioned enough times, a whole bunch of YouTube channels rather. They started a tradition of doing a cast iron video on Wednesday, and they call it what else? Cast Iron Wednesday. I have been doing these live videos now on Wednesday for, well, actually a little more than a year now. And I've enjoyed it quite a bit. Every so often, including last night, I have had to postpone the live until the next day. Last night, I was on call with my work pager, and unfortunately, there was too much of a possibility that I could have been interrupted in the middle of this, and I did not want to do that, especially considering what we are doing tonight. As the description of this video says, we are bringing out the big guns tonight. This is going to be a real battle here, and we are not doing this lightly. So this is going to be one heck of a cook, and I'm going to try, and I'm doing my best to make sure that this whole thing is going to be done during the length of this video. As mentioned before, what we're looking at here are indeed the big guns. Over here on the right, this would be the part actually, where the referee comes out and says, in this corner, at which point then he interviews each of the wrestlers, and the wrestlers make these stupid insults against the other, one and the other. I've never been much of a wrestling fan, but you know how it goes. Hi there. Hello, Jeff Colasar. Nice to see you again. And Pawpaw Dan. Hello, CIC and Jamie. Yeah, Jamie right now is a little nervous tonight just because she's got a big thing going on at work tomorrow. So, but it's good. It's a good thing. So, Stumpy versus Big Red. Yeah, well, I'm not sure what this is going to be called yet, but we will find out. Yeah, brother against brother. Yeah, examining these things, I thought this might have been Stumpy's uncle or grandpa, but actually I'm thinking more like he's his older cousin. They're not really that much different in age. Anyway, in this corner here, over on the right, or at least on this side, depending on what you can see, we have one of my favorite kitchen users, and that, of course, would be Stumpy, my BS&R number 14 size cast iron skillet, who I really enjoyed using. As I said, he has shown up in a lot of my videos and several live videos as well. And this guy here, he is a real fighter. On the other hand, now we've got a newcomer here. Somebody new has come in to challenge Stumpy's title. And what do we have but none other than another Birmingham Stove Range number 14 size skillet. Now, before we get started, I know you want to see this. Oh, so there it is. Oh boy, this thing's hard to hold up. Anyway, not sure if we can even get a good view of this. I hope. Let's try it over here. There we go, more or less. Well, I have posted some pictures on my Facebook as well. But yes, this is in fact a Red Mountain series, a real Red Mountain series, number 14 skillet. You can tell, first of all, because it has the mold ID number 14S. Interesting thing about this is that it actually does not have a glass smooth surface like we've seen in a number of BS&R pans. It's a kind of a rough surface, and it's not pitted either, not from rust. I mean, it's pretty even. It's a very thin, rough surface, kind of like what you might see with a modern day lodge. Now, as we've seen many times before, that really will not have any effect on cooking and non-stick. I mean, we've gone over before how no, it's really not necessary to grind down a cast iron pan and make it glass smooth the way Stumpy here is. And then we are about to demonstrate that here tonight. Granny Graham, major corned beef and cabbage came out great. Well, thank you very much. Pan-seared tuna steak tonight. Is Stumpy a bit of a spinner? Yes, he is, as a matter of fact, and so is his older cousin here, maybe Big Red or whatever we'll be calling him. Funny, they seem to be almost identical in a number of ways, not the least of which is that they are both spinners. And so as a result, I've got both of them resting on two burners on the stove top here, not just one. But rather than rather than just keep talking on and on and on, let's get down to business, shall we? As I said, we are really going to be doing some cooking here tonight. We've got some jambalaya to start, and so, in the words of one of my oldest YouTube friends, the Deep Fried King, let there be bacon. There's one. And the other. Yeah, so we're doing not one but two batches of jambalaya tonight. See what I mean about not sticking? This is the Red Mountain with the so-called rough surface. And as you can see, I'm not getting any problem at all with sticking here. On the other hand, here is old Stumpy, who is likewise, the bacon is just simply sliding around on his polished surface. So, yeah, that's one of the things we've seen again and again, both on YouTube and on the Cast Iron Cooking Group, as I mentioned. There are people who have really made a big deal about grinding down the so-called rough surface of a modern-day large skillet. And this is why I say, at least, it is not absolutely necessary. The one advantage you get from grinding down, well, no, there is an advantage. I will be honest. The really smooth polished surface is a little bit easier to handle than the rougher surface of a cast iron pan like this one here. As you can see, there's really not that much of a difference. The bacon is sliding around here and we don't have any trouble at all. But on the other hand, the glass smooth surface really does feel nice when you use it. There's no denying that. And it also looks nice. That you really, again, can't deny that. You have that wonderful shiny look with a smooth surface. And that is really the main reason why a lot of people like to, actually, let's pull in this one. A lot of people like to grind down the surface of a rougher modern day large skillet. And of course, the elite cast iron makers, they all make a point of polishing their skillets, and quite a few of them make a point as well of bashing lodge. Well, no, actually, that's not true. I have not heard really a lot of bashing lodge from the manufacturers. From their fans and their users, yes. And in fact, Lodge gets a lot of that. If you look on Lodge's Facebook, for instance, pretty much anything they do, no matter what it is, people always bring up the same thing. Hi there, we're doing some baking tonight. Why don't you grind down and smooth your pans? Hi there, welcome, Merry Christmas from Lodge. Why don't you grind down and smooth your pans? You get the idea. So, yeah, I am indeed in Lodge's camp in that I understand their business model and how the advantage of this is, of course, for the pre-seasoning, and that it certainly helps the seasoning to stick and hold. That's a long subject, of course, and we have discussed it, and we'll probably discuss it some more. Right now, nonetheless, we are just having some fun here, making bacon, and it's doing pretty goodly as well. So once this bacon is well done, and we've got a lot of grease to work with, I will remove the bacon from the pan, and we will see the bacon come back in a little later. So, yeah, because, of course, your jambalaya has really a well-deserved reputation, especially among Southerners, nonetheless, that it's a really special dish. And there's only a certain way to cook jambalaya, not the least of which is in a cast iron pan, which is what we're doing here, of course. Of course, jambalaya, what it really is, quite frankly, is just a big stir fry. a really big stir fry. In fact, this is not even the biggest stir fry I've done with making jambalaya, but it's it's going to be pretty darn big. And once it's done, in fact, I'm going to have to figure out what to do with all of that jambalaya when it's finished. Jeff Colasar. I have modern lodge pans, don't have any issues with the surface. And hey, Papa Dan, hey, Peg. Something about trademarks here. Let me just take a look here. Let's get ready to rumble is trademark. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, not one bit. Looks like trouble got your arm there. Oh, well, that was actually something from Miss Mobley, actually, believe it or not. And yeah, that's the thing about cat scratches. Yeah, the thing about cat scratches is cat scratches, I don't know, it's not like they have a venom or something, but there's something about cat claws and cat scratches is that initially they can really swell up a little bit. They're not especially painful, but they swell up for a while and they look pretty nasty even when they're just like surface scratches. Yeah, Mobley was just playing around. Both of my cats are very playful like that. In that they're both, I find they're both very, yeah, they're both very friendly and they both love us. But Trouble, especially, he gets pretty rough when he plays. In that he has really taken to biting and scratching, unfortunately. And yet, even as he does it, he's purring up a storm. So yeah, he's as far as he's concerned, he's just playing around. Anyway, we didn't get Let's Ready to Rumble. Oh, why? Damn it. My bad. So, let me wash this off quickly. Oh, well. So it goes. Meanwhile, I heard the cat scratches swelling is something from their saliva that gets deposited when they lick their paws. That wouldn't surprise me. Do you hiss back and yelp? Well, I know Jamie has had to bat Trouble a couple of times when he's gotten overly playful. I have smooth milled pans and they hold seasoning, but lodge pans, when smoothed down, don't hold seasoning. Yeah, there's actually something of a science as well to grinding down those pans. Oh, yeah, and we're only just started. Yeah. Papa Dan says hi. Hi, Papa Dan. Yeah. And yeah, as far as grinding pans goes, what we've found out is that it's actually possible to smooth down the surface of a cast iron pan too much. If it becomes too smooth, then no, it won't hold the seasoning, and then you've got a real problem. In fact, if anything, Stargazer learned that lesson. I believe people have talked about, with the first generation of the Stargazers, they are actually too smooth. And even now, my Stargazer, I will admit, has something of a difficulty holding seasoning. I still enjoy it, and I still am glad to have it, and I'm still glad to use it. But there is no denying that it cannot, that seasoning a cast iron pan that's too smooth is not quite right. And the cast iron manufacturers, even in those days, they learned that lesson, which is, I think, one reason why we see these pans with those wonderful mill marks, the swirly spiral marks on them. Because actually, that's not really making it glass smooth. It's making it good and smooth. But on the other hand, there is still something of a rough edge on it to help with holding the seasoning. And, oh yeah, what can you say about bacon? Papa Dan was going to try last week's roasted chicken this weekend. Went to every grocery store in town. No white chicken or whole chicken anywhere. I'm the only one that eats dark meat. Try it later. Oh, yeah, my condolences. And yeah, I love dark meat. I grew up with dark meat. And I know there are too many people there around who will only eat breast meat or white meat. And well, that's their loss. I personally think there's more flavor in the dark meat myself. Not to mention chicken quarters, all dark meat, being almost always the cheapest cuts of cheapest cuts of chicken you can get at the grocery store. So it's a real bargain to get yourself some chicken leg quarters. Of course, you can't force people's tastes on them. But nonetheless, yeah, I have no trouble at all with dark meat. I enjoy white meat, but given a choice, I will probably take the dark. Could make a little crude joke about that. But not this time. Oh, yeah. So far, in fact, if anything, I hope I have the heat up right. It looks like Stumpy is cooking the bacon maybe a wee bit faster than Big Red here. This one, again, is the BS&R Red Mountain, which is still doing a nice job cooking this bacon. On the other hand, this one here is Stumpy, the BS&R Century. And it does, both of them, the bacon is rendering nicely. So I really don't have any trouble with that. And yet, on the other hand, as I said, here on the Red Mountain, looks like maybe it's not underdone, but I'd say if anything, it might not be going quite as fast. Again, I'm wondering if maybe I have this set correctly. Let me move this very slightly. When smoothing, William Hurt, do not go far with the grit. It's common for people to oversand. It's applied to many materials. Oh, I don't doubt it. I believe those who have gotten pretty good at this grinding thing have said like an 80 grit sander seems to be about the best you can go for. So that's something to consider. I will still be in the camp of not grinding down my cast iron. I am quite happy with it. Whether it's vintage Griswold or BS&R here, or modern Lodge, or Finex or Stargazer, or that Lancaster skillet. I like them all. And quite frankly, it's true that there is a difference between modern cast iron and vintage cast iron. There's no denying that there is a difference, but I will not say one is better than the other. I mean, after all, here we are right now cooking bacon on a pair of vintage BS&R skillets. Yeah, as I mentioned, when it's like, okay. Originally, when I first got Stumpy, this was in 2014, because I've been looking up his history here. I'm putting together another video on the BS&R, especially on the BS&R 14 skillet, to one of those information / documentary videos I've been doing. And back in 2014, I came across Stumpy on eBay, and I thought he was, in fact, a Red Mountain, but he turned out to be a Century. I learned a couple of things about the characteristics of the Century series, not the least of which is that for at least a few years, especially with their largest pans, the 12 and the 14, BS&R kept the big number 12 and the number 14. Whoops, a little bit of that bacon got away. Hot. Anyway, BS&R kept the big number 12 and the number 14 on their largest skillets for a few years and did not give them the NO, the number 14, for a few years after that. So some of the earlier Century series were, in fact, just that. They just had that big number. I've since learned the difference between the two. The font of the numbering was a little different. Also, after I cleaned Stumpy off, he revealed a Made in USA mark, which again indicates he's definitely Century.
You guys are lucky because you get to watch, but I'm like the luckiest because I can smell this.
Oh yeah.
And, man, I'm telling you.
Smell-o-vision.
Oh my God, you guys wish you could.
Yeah. I think we're almost ready with the bacon here. Yeah, I'd say this bacon looks about ready. So that means it's time to get the bacon out. And I will continue this in a few seconds before I overcook the bacon. Oh yeah, also my stove is not level. That's probably another thing. That's why the grease keeps getting on more on one side here. Okay, let's, here it is. Did my best to be prepared here. So get to scoop this up. But anyway, as I said, old Stumpy turned out to be a Century rather than a Red Mountain. On the other hand, that is the only regret I have ever had from Stumpy. He has been a wonderful cooker, and he has performed mightily in my kitchen. He has cooked Thanksgiving and Christmas turkeys. He's cooked quite a few of those big giant cookies. He has, what else have I done in him? Oh yeah, pizzas. He has made quite a few pizzas as well. So yeah, I love owning a big cast iron pan for those reasons. And that's why I highly recommend you get at least one big cast iron pan, because you will get use out of it. As I just mentioned, the holidays are coming. You'll have something to roast your turkey in. You will become known as the guy with the big cast iron pan. Yeah. And that's not a bad thing either, because folks will want you to do things like, well, make those big giant cookies for their kids, among other things. Anyway, as I said, that was Stumpy. And yet, even so, probably just because I'm a cast iron geek, I have had this urge to still try to find a BS&R Red Mountain pan. And I've been casually looking for one for a long time. Of course, on the other hand, as you know, cast iron prices have been going up because of this cast iron renaissance we've been having, especially on eBay. So I am not going to pay, and I still will not pay $200 or $300 for a Red Mountain number 14. Hot. In fact, I gotta get my glove for this. But there we are. Bacon. So that's step number one. And meanwhile, we've got Jamie has smell-o-vision ringside seats. What's the diameter on those? Both of these are exactly 15 inches in diameter, one and the other. Both the Red Mountain and the Century, they're both the exact same size. I even put one on top of the other, and I mean, they are exactly the same size, right down to the pour spats. That's one reason why I think this guy here is not much older than this guy here. However, time for step two. Sausage. And more sausage. There's also going to be a lot of chicken in this. This time I pre-cooked the chicken, especially so that, again, this will all be done during the course of this live video here. Earlier this afternoon, well, I'll tell you later when I put in the chicken. Yeah. Nonetheless, that means really the bacon is the only thing we're really going to have to remove. Everything else, it's pretty much just going to be one after the other, because after the sausage is properly browned, we'll be able to throw in the Trinity. And yeah, that's another reason why jambalaya is so popular. It's actually so easy to make, as I found out. Back in my old life, back before I learned how to cook, we used to go to my sister-in-law's, and once in a while they would make this jambalaya. They essentially baked it in the oven, and we enjoyed it. But until I started cooking for myself and I actually made my first jambalaya, I didn't realize how easy it was to do this. Not to mention the fact that, of course, it's a lot of fun to make jambalaya like this in a big cast iron pan. Jambalaya is one of those dishes where it seems like when you make jambalaya, you've got to make a lot of jambalaya. While you can make a much smaller serving, yes, it's just not the same. Anyway, does diameter measure the top opening or the bottom cooking surface? It would be the top. I actually put a tape measure from one edge here to one edge here, and this is exactly 15 inches. The number 14 on the bottom of the pan is not a diameter. It is rather the size number based on the old wood-burning stoves. And boy, what kind of stove had a big, huge hole like this for a size 14 anyway? Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember. It's like it didn't just have one big stove eye in the center. In fact, that big stove eye had smaller stove eyes that you could take out so that you could put smaller pans in here without having to remove the entire thing. Those stove designs were actually pretty clever like that. Anyway, show that. Okay, can you stack one on the other to be a tight-fitting lid? You know, you probably could. I did not think of that until you said that right now. Of course, on the other hand, it's so shallow here or narrow that not only would you have a tight-fitting lid, but it would probably go all the way down to at least here or so, and there wouldn't be much room there, which would be nice if you're doing like, well, I don't know, pressed chicken, for instance, which I believe we've also done. But if you just want a lid, like for instance, what we've got here tonight, jambalaya, I'm not so sure that, well, you could stack one on top of the other, upside down. But of course, it would not be it would not be a tight fit. It would be too easy to move. So that's why I took the step of actually finding a lid that would fit on this. An aluminum lid, actually, not an iron lid, I'm sorry to say. I'm sure if I looked long enough, I could find a 15-inch diameter iron lid. Yeah, I know Lodge makes them, but remember, the BS&R is not necessarily the same size as a Lodge. On the other hand, this is exactly 15 inches, so maybe a Lodge lid would fit. I'll have to check that. And over here, I remember one and the other. There we go. Sausages. Browned up nicely in bacon grease. Of course, these are pre-cooked sausages, so all we're really doing is just adding on an extra layer of flavor. Here comes the science, the Maillard reaction. Yay for Mr. Maillard for discovering that. All right. Now, where was I? What was I saying? Oh, yeah, that's right. Again, I found Stumpy. As I said, he turned out all this time. I have been casually looking for, I think this guy's doing the sausage better than Stumpy is, strangely enough. Stumpy did the bacon. This guy's doing the sausage nicely. Oh, yeah, I mentioned that. I didn't specify. I didn't know what you wanted to say. Okay, Jamie has a job interview tomorrow, to be precise, and she is on seventh heaven right now. So, especially in this economy, don't blame her. All right. But what was I saying? Oh, yeah, that's right. All this time, I really have been keeping an eye out for a genuine Red Mountain BS&R number 14, just because I'm a cast iron geek. And since then, I've learned some facts about the Red Mountain pans, including that many of those ones being sold on eBay as Red Mountain are not Red Mountain for precisely that reason. They, in fact, the 12 and the 14, as I said, they just used the big number 12 and 14 for a few years. And so there are a number of those Century Series BS&Rs being sold on eBay as Red Mountain. In most instances, I will say the seller is probably innocent and just doesn't know. All they know, of course, is, they follow the hot trends. And BS&R is becoming something of a hot trend. Some of them are probably being intentional. Like the other day when I found a Ozark Trail Dutch oven being sold on eBay for total for $199 with shipping. Yep. Because it had, it was labeled as a vintage cowboy chuck wagon bean pot, that kind of thing. Ozark Trail, that's the Walmart brand. Yes, it is. Yeah. Oh yeah. You look on eBay long enough, you can find some really ridiculous stuff on there. But anyway, Pawpaw Jam, good luck tomorrow, Jamie. You got this, Peg Toot. You got this totally, Jamie. JD Hyde John, I got a regular, relatively no-name 15-inch skeleton from my aunt and uncle when they moved a couple weeks ago, and the large glass lid fits oh, you mean skillet, not skeleton. Okay, and the large glass lid fits perfectly. I'm definitely going to have to consider that. There is no such thing as making a little jambalaya in Louisiana. Looking good so far. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Is one handle more comfortable and balanced than the other? I think they're about the same. Because, yeah, that's one thing. That's true. The Red Mountain number 14, and only the 14, not even the 12, is the only BS&R skillet they made that did not have that ridge on the bottom of the handle. That's one of those facts that came out after internet research, several years of it. Not by me, but I mean by the collectors on Facebook and the like. Because it's like we kept seeing all of these number 14 BS&R pans that seem to be right in every way, except for the handle did not seem shaped right. It seemed a little flattened on the edge. And yet, even though we've seen these again and again, those ones saying 14A and 14S, we have never been able to genuinely identify an honest-to-goodness Red Mountain pan that does have the ridge on the bottom of the pan. And that's only the 14. Even the 12 has the ridge, only the 14. So because of that, I am one who, based on this evidence, I will... Oh, yeah, good. Something outside. I will be a follower of Occam's razor. The simplest solution is probably the true one. And I will say, therefore, yes, this is a genuine Red Mountain 14, even though the handle is shaped a little differently. Again, look on my Facebook. I do have some photos of that. And a very simple theory, which I do not know any way to prove it, since, of course, everybody from the Red Mountain days has long since passed on. But my simple theory is that this design here was just simply too big to fit properly in their mold pattern that they used to make the molds. So in order to make it fit, they must have had to flatten the handle a little bit. When they upgraded to automated production in the 1960s, they were able to produce a 14 with the ridge on the underside. And that's why the Century series has the ridge, and the BS&R number, the Red Mountain number 14 does not. That is my theory. If I'm ever proven wrong, I will accept that. Like I said, I don't know how it could be proven wrong, so I will simply say it is my theory. But all of that, again, makes me think, it also makes me think, I think we're about ready with this sausage here. All of this makes me think that we are about ready to throw in some chicken. This is pre-cooked chicken. Nice and easy. Come on. Yeah, I know. I made this earlier this afternoon and I shredded it. I've made seafood jambalaya once so far. And partly because I'm not really a big seafood fan, I much prefer this, making it with a whole bunch of chicken. Come on. There you go. That's better. And, oops. Get away there. Anyway, as I said, all of these facts come together that despite the little differences, like the ridge, for instance, I'm convinced that, yes, this is a genuine Red Mountain pan. The fact that it has a rough surface like a modern-day Lodge makes me think it's a later Red Mountain series pan. I do not think this is one of the earliest ones. For starters, it does not have the handwritten numbers on the bottom. They look more like the machine-produced ones that they were doing in Red Mountain. Also, there you go. Former employees at BS&R, there are still a number of them around today, and some of them are on Facebook. Former employees at BS&R have said that the company actually intentionally sold rougher surface or non-polished skillets at a lower price, or alternately, they sold their polished skillets at a higher price. Because, hey, that was business. Besides, like I said, there's really no problem with cooking in a rougher surface. So a number of those pans were intentionally produced without the polished surface. And that is another reason why I think this is a later Red Mountain pan, because I don't know when they started that policy. I would think they would not have been doing that from the beginning. Now, so this might even be the early century series. You know, between 1957 and 1964, Lodge simply rebranded, not Lodge, BS&R simply rebranded their entire line from Red Mountain to Century. But the pans remained exactly the same. They were producing them in the same way, marking them the same way. The only difference was the labels they put on them. And we have absolutely no way to tell without the label which is a Red Mountain and which is an early Century series. So this pan here could be either. What I mean is that the difference here could be as much as, well, maybe 30 to 40 years. Stumpy could have been made in the 1970s. This guy could have been made in the 1930s to 1940s. On the other hand, it's also possible this guy here could have been made as late as the early to mid 1960s, and Stumpy could have been made in the late 1960s. So the difference between these two may be as little as a few years, and I'm never really going to be able to tell any more than that. So that's why this is not, unfortunately, this is not Stumpy's grandpa or great uncle or anything like that. That's why I think he's more like an older cousin. So again, unless I'm proven wrong, that's my story and I will stick to it. And there we go. That, I guess, is the story of the Red Mountain pan here that I am really taking out on a test run here. And it's doing a nice job, too. I will say that. Okay, back to comments. Just my opinion. There is no special word tonight. I am not doing a giveaway. Last week was the second giveaway I have ever held on this YouTube channel. I've been doing these live videos for more than a year. I've been doing those edited and pre-recorded YouTube videos for, good grief, 8 to 9 years now. So far, I've only done two of these giveaways. So we're not doing one every week. I do have more of them planned. In fact, I do have one planned for early November, so that I can ship that one out for you to the winner, whenever that is, in order for him to be ready to use it on Thanksgiving. Kimberly Miller, we have a few BS&R number 5s. They make the best fried eggs. I don't cook eggs in nothing else but those pans, and I don't blame you at all, not one bit. Losing for Life just picked up a number 14 3-notch Lodge today. Congratulations. You will get a lot of use out of it. As I said just earlier tonight, and I noticed this stuff is soaking up the grease now. As I said just earlier tonight, with a number 14, what do you got? You've got a huge frying pan like I'm doing here. You also have the world's greatest pizza pan. And you also have the world's greatest turkey roasting pan. And the holidays are coming. So you better believe you will be able to get some use out of that number 14 Lodge there. So enjoy it. I do believe we are getting into our next step. And that, of course, would be down in Cajun country, what they call the Trinity. So we got ourselves some celery. My mind's gone blank. Celery, onions, and oh yeah, and peppers. How could I forget the peppers? And the peppers are in there too. I forgot because they happen to be green peppers. So we've got a lot of green in there. One. Here's the other. Boy, there's a whole lot of stuff in here. I'm actually hoping this pan will take it. I hope I didn't overdo it. I measured the diameter and the depth of the pan, did a little bit of math, and according to the math, which maybe I got wrong, this pan should have a capacity of at least or close to about 8 quarts, because 15 inches in diameter and a depth of about 3 inches gives something like about maybe 75 to 80 or so cubic inches in there, which according to the basic math I did with the help of Google, that gives you roughly close to about 8 quarts of space, which is not bad at all. That's why I thought of doing a jambalaya in this, even though traditionally you do a jambalaya in a Dutch oven or some other big pot. There we go. Sweating this down. Don't sweat the small stuff. Which is what you gotta say to Jamie too. Don't sweat the small stuff, Jamie. Relax. Oh yeah, this is turning out rather nicely here. Really hope it'll fit all the rice. Anyway, we'll get all this in here. Oh yeah. Thank you once again, by the way, for everybody who showed up tonight. Appreciate your coming here on a Thursday rather than a Wednesday. Or of course, I'm sure you had fun on Wednesday. But I appreciate you coming here on a Thursday. And I'm hoping this little show is making it worthwhile. But there we go. Now, meanwhile, Savage Wolf, who makes the pan with Avid Outdoors on it, like the pans you have there? Do you have one? I do not. However, it's quite simple, like it or not, that if it's not made by Lodge, it's probably Asian made. Lodge, of course, is the only major cast iron manufacturer in the U.S. today. And yes, it's true there are smaller manufacturers who are doing their best to grow, like Field and Finex, which is owned by Lodge, or Stargazer, or Lancaster, or a whole bunch of others, and Smithy and Butterpat. But their skillets are all specialty. Lodge is the only one company of those that is mass producing its skillets, large and small, and shipping them all across the country. So therefore, if you have a really big cast iron skillet, or pretty much any cast iron skillet that is not Lodge and not one of the specialty manufacturers, then it has to be Asian made. Now, there's nothing wrong with Asian made, and I've said that many times here, and I will say it again as well. You know, Asian-made pans, the main reason why folks would object to Asian pans would be for political reasons. And I'm not going to argue politics. That is, of course, your prerogative. If you do not want to use Asian pans for that reason, because you don't like China or don't trust China or anything like that, That is your choice, and I'm not going to say no. I will only say that Asian-made cast iron is safe for cooking. It does not contain lead or chemicals or anything like that. Anyway, harmful chemicals. Victoria in South America. That's a good point. I keep forgetting about them. The Victoria Foundry. And apparently they've been around for quite a while as well, since something like the 1930s. Thank you for the reminder. Yeah, there is a possibility that if you could come across a Victoria cast iron pan. More likely these days it would be a Victoria cast iron tortilla press. Not that there's anything wrong with that either. But yes, I did forget about them. Papa Dan, Laissez le bon temps rouler. Hello, grumpy old gringo. Do you have any deep dish or chicken fryers? Yes, I do, as a matter of fact. I have an unmarked Wagner number 9 chicken fryer that I was fortunate enough to find at Brimfield. You know, the Brimfield Antique Show. And I do believe we are good here. So now we only have 2 more things to do. 3 things to do. One is return this bacon to the pan. And then we mix in our spices. Spices are essential in this dish, although I have to say this smells pretty darn good on its own. So let's get this bacon mixed in. Yes, indeed. And then come the spices. Oh, yeah. Nom, 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 nom. Yeah, I mean, really, this is smelling pretty darn good right now. And as it's, yeah, and I haven't even added the spices yet. Good. No wonder people love jambalaya. Boy, is this a, as they say, flavor town, which is probably trademarked also. Okay. Anyway, where were we? Sam Cook. I saw a nickel-plated number 8 Crescent Ozark skillet. Does anybody use plated cast iron? How does the plating hold up? You know, I managed to acquire a plated skillet once and then sold it. I don't think the plating would last, because you've seen a lot of cast iron pans with the plating worn off. I think it's like enamel, namely that after a while, it seems like the plating does wear off, unfortunately. And I am not, oh, what's this? A bone. I must have missed a little piece. Okay, we'll throw that out. Anyway, I am not an expert in maintaining plated skillets. And as such, I really cannot offer much information about them, other than that the plating does wear off. Okay, now comes the fun part. And that, of course, would be the spices. Let us start, well, not lettuce, but let's put in some kosher salt. Maybe a little bit more, and that should be enough. Yes, that's his name on YouTube, Sam Cook.
Sam Cook, William Hurt. Who else?
Yeah. Well, Papa Dan. Ah, okay. Okay, why do you call the skillet Stumpy? I have 2 reasons for that. And give me 1 second, because next up comes some pepper, ground pepper. Number 1 is, if you look at a BS&R, and number 14 in particular, and then you look at the length of that handle, it certainly does look pretty stumpy. However, Stumpy in particular also has a casting flaw. I've shown pictures of it. I'm not able to lift up this pan, unfortunately.
Are you putting the seasoning in right now?
I am.
Okay, can you take out a scoop like without some seasoning on the top of it? Like,
oh,
it's already been scooped with before you stir it.
Oh.
Okay.
But I've already spread it around. What's up?
Hold on. I'm just gonna take out a scoop.
Oh, okay.
Just my stomach's sensitive. Stop stirring.
Okay. Well, all I put in this so far is salt and pepper.
Oh, okay. Salt and pepper's here.
Yeah, I have.
Salt and pepper's here.
Yes, indeed. So if you,
All right, so you guys, if you were to pick one to have right now, which would you pick?
Jamie's
The
asking.
left or the right?
Jamie wants to take some now. Do you want the left or the right? Can somebody answer right at this moment? If you had a choice, would you do left or right? Anthropomorphizes his hardware. Well, yes, I do. And Kimberly Miller says left.
That's what I'm saying too. Right here, right, Kim?
Yeah, and
right
that
there, Kim.
and that's the Red Mountain one. And on the other hand, Betts says right.
Okay, all right.
Stanley Palmer says
You're
right. Savage Wolf
twisting.
says left.
All right.
left.
All right. You know what? So we'll just try a little
Kimberly
bit more.
Miller says yes, that
There
one.
we go.
Okay, there you
So
go.
we want this one,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes. So anyway, yeah, all I've got so far in here is some salt and pepper.
Sorry.
But now,
It's not that I don't want the jambalaya seasoning. I have a sensitive stomach at times.
okay. Speaking of which,
Yeah, and I'm just.
oh no, I know.
I'm just joking around.
Yeah, I understand.
I'm just hungry.
Yes, exactly. Next up, some smoked paprika.
So how that was for you guys?
And then after that,
I should have asked, which side has more bacon?
and after that comes the real special one, and that, of course, would be
Bacon. Okay.
some Zatarain's Creole seasoning. I like using Old Bay on my jambalaya too, and of course, folks from down in Cajun country, they have criticized me for that because that's not Cajun. That's from Baltimore. Yeah, I know.
Oh,
You just can't win.
No, never. Never, ever, ever.
And there we go. Live chat has quit working, it says. Has anybody else's quit? Pawpaw Dan says that his has quit. I have to say, it looks like it's still No. It looks like it's still okay. Savage Wolf says still working. So, regrettably, I have to say, Pawpaw Dan, check your connection. I'm sorry to say that, but yeah, I think so. So, yeah, so it's just a little glitch. Okay. But nonetheless, here comes the spices, and I'm actually not quite done yet. There we go. Now that we've done all that. Oh, yeah. Now we are getting somewhere, and we're not quite done yet because now we've got to put in a little bit of liquid here. And that would be some Worcestershire sauce. I think some people may argue about that, but I like Worcestershire sauce. And only a smidge of heat. And in this case, my favorite is sriracha. I'm sure some folks prefer Frank's hot sauce, but I've got a thing for sriracha. And anyway, sriracha is actually made in Philadelphia or in Pennsylvania, and they import that stuff to China. So there you go. Yeah, I know what you say. Buy American? Well, then there you go. Get stock up on your sriracha. Look it up. I know what they say. Do your research. Well, as a matter of fact, go to a reputable place like, I don't know, Wikipedia or something.
Oh, did you know there's two different Wikipedias now?
There are two different Wikipedias?
Yes.
Why?
There is one Wikipedia that's like more in layman's terms.
Yes.
And then there's another Wikipedia that speaks,
Oh, yeah.
more,
I kind of know what you mean. One simpler Wikipedia. I think that's actually what it's called. I think it's called Simple Wikipedia. But nonetheless, sriracha sauce is indeed made in the good old USA.
That's what I was looking for right here.
So now that we have done that,
All right, here we go.
finally, of course, the last thing would be lots and lots of parsley. Because, you can't have a Cajun dish. Oh, gee, did I not even open this one? Okay, well, there's a good excuse to open it. You can't have a Cajun dish without lots and lots of parsley. Maybe I'll just dump this whole thing in there. So, come on, you mother. Always forget something. In this case, yes, exactly. There we go. Just do it that way. Get this out of here. And then after that, of course, will come the big R.
Yes, I know refrigerator.
Parsley.
Okay. I'm just making room for that stuff right now.
It's all right. Where was I? Do you cook outside with your Dutch ovens, charcoal or fire? I have not done a lot of outdoor cooking myself, partly because I live in the big city. And unfortunately, pretty much for the last 10 years, I have lived in apartments, which have a no open flames rule. Right now, the apartment I'm in actually does have a driveway where I could do some outdoor cold cooking. Maybe I should. That is, of course, if that neighbor next door didn't report me to the police. Yeah, that's actually a true story for the record. I might have told this story before or not. Last year, I took out my big 15-gallon cauldron in order to season it and freshen it up for cooking. Set it up over a big propane fire in the driveway. Tried to be as far away from anything as possible for safety. The neighbor, on the other hand, I will not mention his name. He just started with, "No, you can't park here. I'm gonna report you to the police." So, yes, I'm calling police. I'm calling police. So he did. He called the police. The police said, "You got to call the fire department." So he called the fire department, and the fire department showed up, and they took a look at my setup, and they said, "What? What's the big deal here?"
The fire department showed up first, remember?
Yes, that's what I said. The fire department showed up.
Yep.
And they said, "What's the big deal here?" So, and the guy said, "Well, the guy's got this fire going on." And he said, "Well, Top," they said to him, "call the police."
I did call the police. They send you.
Yeah, exactly. But call him again. So he called the police again, and the police showed up. This is all a true story, by the way. The police showed up at my driveway, took a look at my took a look at my setup and said, "Oh, yeah, I remember you. You're the guy who cooked the jambalaya. How did it turn out?"
And what's funny is actually the cops were like, "So what's the problem here?" "No, I think you need the fire department." "No,
Yeah.
we already have the fire department here."
Yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, maybe go camping or to a park would be fun to watch. I've done that a few times. Last year, I did, in fact, do some cold cooking with my friends in New York. And again, and as a matter of fact, what you want to do, if you don't mind, is look up my video when I did go to a park and I took my 15-gallon cast iron cauldron and used it to make a big cauldron full of jambalaya. That was last year. Okay. Is there a difference between Cajun food and Creole food? Well, the Cajuns and the Creoles will say yes. For everybody else, not really. I think it has more to do like Bayou country versus northern Louisiana or something like that. They would be able to tell better than I can. However, okay, we're Creole use tomatoes, Cajun don't. Well, there you go. As a matter of fact, I had some tomatoes. I wasn't sure whether to mix them in or not. Right now, I don't think it's necessary. These pans are full already, especially since now that we've done that, got to pour some water because it's time for the rice. So give me a second, please, as I pour about 4 cups of water. I'm glad you like it. Yes, I love making jambalaya. It's so easy, and man, is it ever tasty. So now that we've done this, it's time. Actually, that's the other thing. I'm going to have to pull out the lids. Fortunately, I've got those right over here. Yeah. And I made sure to prepare them so that I can put them right on. Okay. But thank you for your point about the tomatoes. So, in each of these, I'm going to put about 2 cups of water. Actually, I goofed. I realized it should be 4 cups of water, so that makes it easy. Thank goodness. I would have made a big mistake there. And the other one.
Yeah.
So here comes the other one. 4 cups of water. That's okay. In a big pot, of course, I'd need to make this come to a boil, but hey, look at this. It's already boiling. So that means now it's time for the rice. And then after that, we can sit back and relax for a little bit and talk about cast iron. 2 cups of rice in each. Jasmine rice, of course. That's 1.
Cool. How much is step on this?
And the other. Mix it in a little bit, and then we will cover this. In fact, I think I've got to turn it down too. So I'm going to let this simmer. That's 1. Things have gotten much quieter now. If at first you don't succeed, fry again. And here's the other. Now, finally, the lids. Here's 1, which fits nicely, although the pour spouts are still out. And the other is the lid to my cauldron, because I don't have 2 15-inch lids, unfortunately, but that'll work. All right. Oh, yeah, and turn the heat down a little bit. Turning the stovetop down to about half of what it was. So, there we go. Okay, well, actually, I'm using water this time. I could have used chicken stock. Okay, but hey, we've got a lot of flavor in this already, so yeah. If you use chicken stock, would a beef stock be good? It would probably work. I mean, you figure you've got the sausage, of course, which has a lot of beef and pork in it, or chicken stock. I used water this time, so life's a fish, then you fry. Regarding the battle of the big boys, I'll take the loser. All right. I visited New Orleans several years ago. The food was so good. Yeah, I have not yet had the pleasure of visiting Louisiana, I'm sorry to say. And that is one of those bucket list trips I really hope to make at some point. Just cleaned an Able Skiver pan. Oh, I see. William Hurt just cleaned an Able Skiver pan last week. Ooh, that sounds good, actually. Papa Dan, mine's working fine. Sorry about the comments about it. It tastes a little better reheated the next day. Yes, it does. That's a lot of food. What are you going to do with it? Neighbors? Yeah, neighbors, relatives, friends. You know, my BFF, Mama Bear, and her godson and her family. And pretty much it's like almost like, hey, you walking down the street, want some jambalaya? So, after all, it is getting close to Halloween. Papa Dan, couldn't see anybody's comments to my question regarding the live chat. Assuming you all must be working, I closed that video and came back in. It's working now. Yeah, we did see your comments, actually, Papa Dan. I regret to have to say that it seemed like it was only happening on your end. So, and I'm sorry to say that. The live seems to have been going okay. Peg Tooth, if you draw up a plan with all the utilities marked, my town will issue you with a free 10-year fire pit permit. But I have a backyard. Well, yeah, you do, and I don't, unfortunately. So, Cajun uses no tomatoes. Do you have an Able Skiver cast iron pan? You know, I don't yet. It would be pretty easy to get one because you can go to an Asian market and you find those, and those are not Able Skiver pans, even though they're shaped exactly the same way. Those are takoyaki pans, octopus balls. And okay, now I'm gonna get kicked off of YouTube for saying that, but those who know what takoyaki are will understand that. These are cool pans. So much you can do other than make apple roll cakes. I think you're still talking about the Able Skiver. Yes. Okay, and now we're getting back to sriracha is the only ketchup I use on hot dogs. Oh yeah, you like your heat, don't you? Cookery. Does anyone have experience buying a Lodge price in retail stores clearance final sale? Yes. Lodge's second pans have a reputation and a very well-deserved one. They're excellent. Get them. Don't hesitate. And I'm not even being paid by Lodge to say that. Lodge has pretty strict quality control in their pans, and yet, on the other hand, they sell a lot of so-called seconds, which are pans that have very, very tiny flaws to them. In most instances, for instance, the seasoning may not have come on right, and the seasoning may be chipped or peeling off or something like that, but the pan itself is great. I've seen some Lodge seconds pans that might have, oh, I don't know, a tiny little bubble on the handle, or even a tiny little pinhole in the surface, but not enough to go completely through. I've bought Lodge second pans. They're fantastic. They're really as good as first full price Lodge. If you come across a Lodge seconds pan, or even a second-hand pan at a TJ Maxx or discount or anything like that, don't hesitate and grab it if you need it, that is. So that is my reply there. Able Skiver pan is from Lodge. Good. What cast are you looking for currently? That's tough to say right now. My bucket list at this point has reached the point where the pans I'm looking for are extremely rare. I may never find them for the rest of my life. We're talking things like a Red Mountain 13-inch, not 12, not 14, but 13-inch spider or camp oven, which I've seen photos of it. There is some Jason Walker, one of the more famous Facebook cast iron collectors. He has a 13-inch. I have a 13-inch lid that I managed to come across, and I would love the pan to go with it. Another one on my bucket list probably is, again, a Red Mountain. Boy, does this sound like a pattern or what? A Red Mountain number 12 Dutch oven. I have a Century Dutch oven, which had been in a house fire, and I managed to salvage it and season it, and it works pretty good. It spins pretty strongly. That number 12 Dutch oven does in fact have fire damage. It has the red color you see of a pan that's been damaged by fire. I managed to season over it, and I still use it because it's a number 12 cast iron Dutch oven. I fear that one of these days, could be tomorrow, could be decades from now, that pan will crack because of the fire damage. So I would love to find a number 12 Dutch oven one of these days. I'd only need the pot, for the record. I don't even need the lid. I have a number 12 Red Mountain lid, and I'm very proud of that. So if you're asking, if you need it, too funny, Eric, now that you're running out of display storage area, yeah, tell me about it. If you need it. Yeah, that's why they call it cast ironitis. Because, if you need it, that can mean just about anything. I mean, do I really need my 8 or 9 number 8 skillets? No. But do I want them? Yes. When I'm saying 8 or 9, I'm talking about things like my Red Mountain number 8, my modern Lodge number 8, the very first pan I ever owned, the pans I've bought from the Made in America series. Heck, just within the last month or so, I restored an ugly hammered number 8. And of course, there's the Stargazer number 8 that I also have. So, as well as the Lodge Blacklock number 8. So, well, technically it's a 10-inch, but yeah. So, yeah. So, not to mention all my number 3s and the 4 and the 5 and the 6 and the 7 and the 9 and the 10s. You get the idea. So, yeah. As opposed to what you need versus what you want. Now, I am as guilty of cast ironitis as a lot of people. If you can honestly say, I only own a couple of pans and I love them, and I'm not going to get a huge collection. Congratulations and more power to you. I'm actually a little envious in that reason. On the other hand, I like owning all of this cast iron. I am doing my best to try to rotate through it and try to get as much use from as many of these things as possible, which is pretty difficult, but I'm doing my best. That's one of the reasons why I started this YouTube channel, to give myself an excuse to use all of these different cast iron pans. Dory Sabal. I love my Stargazer 10 and 12. Oh, yeah. Congratulations on that. Melissa Watson just made one in my 10-inch Wagner. Did it flip out of the pan nicely? I'll bet it did. It's actually pretty easy to make cornbread that will flip out of the pan. Oh, I'm sorry. Pineapple upside down cake. But yeah, it's still pretty easy. And a Griswold Erie, no less. Congratulations. Oh, yeah, that's another one of my number 8s. I actually have an Erie, which also was one of my very earliest finds. It's a spinner. It's warped. I still use it. James Ramsdell, glad to catch the chaos live. Usually I do seasoning on cast iron Wednesday while watching or make the previous week's recipe, depending on how full my lye tank is. Yeah, there is that as well. So, okay. So, can you order Lodge seconds online anywhere? Lodge does not sell the seconds on their own website. If you look around for some sellers, I think you might. Probably the most reliable place to find a Lodge seconds would be at TJ Maxx / Marshalls / Home Goods now. They sell their Lodge pans at cut rate prices, as you know, and it's a great place to go if you want a modern day Lodge pan at a really great price. A lot of times they're brand new. A lot of times they're seconds. Their selection is only so, and especially it seems like getting into this time of year, they seem to start selling out of their Lodge cast iron. But you never know. Another good place to go for Lodge seconds would be the Lodge retail stores in Tennessee, and I think there's one in Alabama, or not Alabama. Alabama as well, or Georgia, or something like that. There, for the record, they sell their seconds pans at really deep discounts, often as much or maybe somewhat less than what you would pay for at Walmart. But they have a much, much better selection. They've got a pretty huge selection there. And you can often get deals too. A lot of times you might find a stack of number 5 Lodge pans being sold for $5 each or $10 each. No, more like $5 each for one reason or another. So, okay. Meanwhile, back to here. Maybe sometime we could talk about Canadian cast iron and cast iron history. I have many pieces that I would like to know more about. Shadow Walker XM. I know very little, unfortunately. I would really need to do a lot more research into Canadian cast iron. About all I know about it is 2 things. One is their smart cast iron from Canada, which is very highly prized by collectors. Another is I have seen a number of gate-marked Dutch ovens that seem to be of Canadian make, but those Dutch ovens are completely unmarked except for the size number. However, I have seen quite a few of them on Canada's eBay. Sam Cook, have a Taiwan Dutch oven with a BS&R FBP, that's flat bottom pot lid, that fits perfect. What can you tell me about flat bottom pot FBP? I can tell you there are 2 things. In the Red Mountain days, they made the FBP, which was the flat bottom pot. It looked really like a bucket, and they made a lid for it that was especially meant to fit that. In their later century days, they made an FBP, and they gave it a fancier name, the Franklin Bean Pot. That was actually the name they assigned to it. So in the old days, the FBP was flat bottom pot. In the newer days, the FBP was Franklin Bean Pot. Also, they had a tab lid on their newer ones, and that's probably what yours has as well. Yes, Peg, quite a few in GSW and a few other brands that escape me right now. I got a Victoria cast iron pan. I thought it was not good. My first cast iron skillet low cast. I love it now. It's smoothed out like a Griswold is. Yeah, that's just it. What you really want to do with a modern day cast iron pan or any pan that you think has a rough surface, what you want to do is cook with it and keep cooking with it. And it will smooth out and you will have there. Is it safe to boil water in cast iron? Yes, in the short run. What I have found out, I mean, I did a lot of boiling and especially cooking rice in my cast iron, and I loved it. What I found out, though, is that if you do too much water boiling in your cast iron, it will affect the seasoning. And eventually it'll get to the point where, you'll need to reseason the pan because on the inside, the seasoning has reached the point where you start seeing rust spots and stuff. If you alternate, like say maybe only boil water in your cast iron once in a while, it will work just fine because the seasoning will be rebuilt up. Since then, a couple of years ago, I acquired a Wagner aluminum Dutch oven, and I love it as a water boiler. That aluminum Dutch oven is maybe the best water boiler I've ever had. In the short run, then it's safe to boil water in cast iron. Longer, maybe not so much. So that answers that. Of course, the other alternative would be naturally enameled cast iron, which does take longer to boil, though. Enamel has advantages and disadvantages. Melissa Watson, I have an enameled Dutch oven. I tried cooking pasta in it, and it was not. If you boil food in cast iron, does it give off more iron into the food compared to frying food? I don't know the details of that. For the record, the amount of iron passed into your food from cast iron, whether it's from frying or boiling or the like, is actually very, very small, almost microscopic. Because you figure the pan is seasoned. So there really is not that much actual contact between the bare iron and the food. There is some, but really not that much. Yes, there are people like diabetics, for instance, who will swear that cooking in cast iron has helped increase their iron take, and they do much better about that. I have no complaints about that. I am not a doctor or a scientist. I will not try to disagree with that. I can only state again what I have read and seen the facts are. The facts are is that very, very small amounts of iron are passed into food through cooking or boiling. Water in acidic foods will weaken the seasoning over time. Yeah, in fact, when they measured it, they found that things like cooking with acidic foods like tomatoes passed more iron into the food because, of course, it was wearing down the seasoning. I think I'll just comment once and once only about what I really hate about these stupid new age healthy websites that are really just trying to sell you ridiculous overpriced crap. And that is this. There is no such thing as organic iron and inorganic iron. I have seen some of those healthy sites trying to say, you need to get more organic iron. And if you use those cast iron pans, that's inorganic iron and it's bad for you. BS. There is no such thing as organic iron or inorganic iron. Iron is an element. It's not carbon based. It's not like organic, plants or animals or anything like that. It's iron. And that's it. I mean, really, it does not matter if you get it from cooking or taking iron tablets. You will get iron. So, and that's about all I have to say. Okay. Okay. I've
Since however, like 1800s.
Yes.
If that was the case and it was constantly, leaching out iron, eventually you wouldn't have a pan left.
Well, eventually, yeah, you might say that too.
Yeah, well,
so yeah,
it'd be significantly,
yeah.
over all these years, especially
Mhm.
back in the like some of these things from the 1800s, they were used every day.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so if you think about that, you'd have no pan left.
Yes.
It would essentially be gone.
Oh, yes.
So.
Papa Dan, have you noticed the later it gets, the more viewers you have? Well, I'm actually pleased about that. I guess that means I'm not driving people away with these things.
On the West Coast, people are just getting out of work.
Good point. On the West Coast, people are just getting out of work. I think it's time to stir this. And then after that, it'll only be a few more minutes. Definitely need to stir this.
Or people are just getting their kids put to bed.
Yes, or people are just putting their kids to bed. That's true. I am one of those people who pretty much gave up watching TV about 10 years ago, and I do not regret it. However, I don't know how many other people are like that. So for them, YouTube is really their TV. So now that it's getting later in the evening, maybe they're just keeping one window open while they either watch TV or do other things. Nonetheless, I am once again, very honored and pleased with by everybody who has taken the time to show up here, and I can't thank you enough. And number 2. I hope I used enough Cajun seasoning for this. No, I think it'll turn out all right. Maybe about another 10 minutes or so. There we go. I'm glad I got the amount of water right.
That's one thing that's great about Eric is the amount of work. Like, he doesn't watch TV and like that, but I can pretty much say that 7 nights a week, Eric is working on either production of a video, editing a video, filming, or pictures, or he dedicates a lot of time to this. To put out stuff that you guys are going to enjoy, and you guys are going to appreciate.
Well, that's because I enjoy it.
Yes.
So, yeah. Okay.
But
Anyway.
it's a lot of quality. It's high quality. It's not just some people you see just put their, hit record and then bam, that's it. If you want to do that, he could put out a video every single night. But he doesn't. He puts in the time and the work.
All I can say is I do my best.
Yeah, he puts in the time and the work to edit it. So, there's not so much dead air and
check your gumbalia. Well, there's not enough liquid for that to be gumbo. But yes, no. But thank you very much, Jamie. Shadow Walker XM. About 7 months ago, I missed a $15 deal on Marketplace for 2 cast iron pans. One was Asian and the other was a Smarts. Arg. Ooh, yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. What do you mean pick at it? Can I use oven cleaner only on the bottom? You probably could. It may be a little difficult, but I don't see why not. As long as you do it carefully, I guess. We have 90 or so. The kids laugh about it, but tell them one day they will thank us when they have a great pan handed down to them. Yes, exactly. Okay, what else do we have? Gluten-free iron. Yeah, that's about right. Just like that strip club that gives gluten-free lap dances. Okay, and having done that, have you so, as I said, all we need to do is, oh boy, wow, it's an hour and 20 minutes already. Well, we are almost done. I mean, as I said, once the rice is fully ready, we will be ready. So, as always, I do appreciate everybody who has shown up here. So, yeah, you don't always go all the way. I think you do real good. Well, okay, thank you very much. Anyway, let me see. I'm trying to think the subject we were talking about. Canadian cast iron. Well, as I said, unfortunately I don't have that much experience with it, and I would indeed strongly recommend. There are Facebook groups really with specialties for just about everything. I've seen I enjoy a Facebook group especially about BS&R and lodge pans. There's another Facebook group just for ugly hammered pans. There's one of the best places probably in the entire world now to go to look for vintage cast iron would be the Facebook group Iron Man Cast Iron Auctions. The people there are knowledgeable. The moderators do their best to keep it honest. And while it's not very likely you will get yourself a real steal there. Oh, yeah, I bought this pan for $3. Turned out to be a Griswold. No, not there. On the other hand, you will also not get a ripoff like that Ozark Trail $200 Dutch oven. The people there are honest, and they do their best to sell their things at honest prices. Because, of course, if you don't want it, you don't have to bid on it. So, do you have a Wagner oval roaster? Yeah, that's the oval roaster I found. The aluminum one I found at Brimfield. which I still need to I need to clean that up, and I need to do that soon because Thanksgiving is coming, and I promised Mama Bear that she could use that when she did her Christmas pernil. I do not have a Wagner cast iron oval roaster. I do have a Lodge cast iron oval roaster. The battle is going to go down to the last bell. Need a taste tester to decide the winner. Yes, exactly. The cast iron man page is way out of my purchasing league. Oh yeah, there is that. How many hibachi grills do you have? I have to be honest, none. As I said, unfortunately, I have very little outdoor cooking experience and even less equipment for cooking outdoors. I do have a propane burner for my cauldron, and I've used that as well on the smaller pots, like that 16 quart. Yeah, that's smaller, like that 16 quart Dutch oven. Total bummer. I have an antique market nearby, and they price the usual suspects well above market price, but the off-brand pans, Smarts, GSW, I find sometimes for next to nothing. Take advantage of that. This is the case where a little knowledge will go a long way. And that's part of the fun of the hunt, because in a lot of cases, more than they do. And so as a result, you get to put on your poker face and say, how much for this old frying pan? When in fact, you recognize it from the hole that it's actually a Griswold good health. Or you recognize it from the ridge that you've got yourself a BS&R there, maybe even a Red Mountain pan. But they don't know, because all they know is it's a Wagner or it's a Griswold. And yeah, I'm tired of that myself as well. I went on a road trip across New York State back in August, and I stopped at places outside of Rochester, outside of Buffalo, the Seneca Indian Nation, Binghamton. I looked at antique malls. I looked at flea markets out there, and it was all the same. It's like, pretty much, if it was a Wagner, they sold it. I mean, they were selling almost nothing but Wagner and Griswold. And of course, if it was a Griswold, it was priced out of the stratosphere. I know in one antique mall, I saw this pot, this Dutch oven lying on the ground in one of the booths. It did not have a lid. I just glanced at it and said to myself, it's a Griswold and it's over $50. And I looked at this, and guess what? It was a Griswold, a small logo Griswold Dutch oven with no lid, and the price was $60. Yeah, I'm as tired of that as anyone. I do have several Griswold pans. Funny how I don't seem to use them very often, isn't it? I've got myself a Griswold number 10 with a number 10 lid, a skillet, that is. Griswold 10 skillet and a Griswold 10 skillet lid, and I rarely use it. Back during my early days, I think this happens to a lot of people. My early days, when I was really a newbie at cast iron, is like, oh, I gotta have it. I had the strong urge then to get a Griswold, and that's when I actually went on eBay, because I didn't know better, got myself Griswold number 10. Only a couple of weeks after that, I went to Brimfield for the first time. And at Brimfield, I saw the exact same Griswold number 10 selling for half of what I paid for it on eBay. That was my life lesson. That was when I learned eBay sucks, in that most of the cast iron sold on eBay is way, way overpriced. You can still get a good deal even on eBay if you look carefully and look for a long time. I have made a few good eBay scores, like this one, for instance, the Red Mountain number 14 that we're cooking in right now, for instance. If you look on eBay right now for BS&R iron, you'll see that there are several number 14 so-called Red Mountain pans, which are not Red Mountain, but in fact Century. There are a couple of Red Mountains on there as well. Rare, vintage, selling for like between $200 and $300. No. I ended up paying, I will admit that this was a weakness. I fell for it, and I ended up paying about $100 for this Red Mountain number 14, which I think was actually a decent price, considering how hard it is to find one of these things. And that's a better price than I even saw at that in the New York, the Madison Bulkville Antique Week, where I saw a Red Mountain number 14 selling for $165, and that one was wire wheeled. This one is definitely not wire wheeled. You can tell from the rough surface. Shadow Walker XM. I don't have a single one, but Christmas is coming. Want my address? Is the left hand one stainless steel and the right and the other spun aluminum? I believe these are. I think these are both aluminum. Oh yeah, in fact, I got to show you something about this one once I take that off. You know what this is? It's a Vollrath. Vollrath, of course, as you know, yeah, they stopped making cast iron cookware something like around World War II or so. And they have since gone on to become a business cookware supplier, for restaurants and other mass suppliers and the like. And they're actually a pretty big name in that business. Vollrath, you go to any restaurant store and you're guaranteed to see some stuff from Vollrath. Made in China, or in this case, in fact, it says made in India. Yeah, I'll show you that. No, wait, I'm wrong. This is, in fact, made in the USA. I'm sorry, I am wrong. They are still making some of their stuff in the USA, but they do have stuff made in China as well. They're a modern day business. What can you say? So it's like, that's how it goes. But yeah, Vollrath is still around. This, I believe, is also aluminum. And I got this one from either Bayou Classic or Cajun or King Cooker, one of the Cajun cookware sellers, because it's a pretty huge lid. This is the one I have on my 15-gallon cauldron. In fact, it's actually much bigger than Stumpy here. I like stainless steel cookware. Of course, I like cast iron better. And just my opinion. Well, exactly. That nothing wrong with that. Pawpaw Dan, try Flitz polish to clean aluminum. Work wonders on my Magnolite pot, or go to Cast Aluminum Facebook group and ask there. Dory Sobel, I was raised in Owego, New York, near Binghamton. Wish I knew about cast iron back then. My mom demoed T-Fal, so I grew up with T-Fal until several years ago, until I bought my first cast iron. There's this really great antique mall there in Owego that I make a point of visiting every time I'm in that area. What's it called? Like the Early Owego Antique Center or something like that. I have found some really good stuff there at fairly decent prices. There's some overpriced stuff there, but I found some good stuff there. What have I found there? I found a BS&R muffin pan for $8 there. I got a BS&R number 5 for $10. I found my mom's unbreakable Creole mugs, well, Pyrex, for a set of 4 of them for $12 just on my last road trip there. So yeah, that's a pretty good one. Do you know about Bruntmore cast iron? I've seen that name a lot, especially on Amazon and the like. My understanding is I don't think Bruntmore. I would think that Bruntmore would be made in China, but my understanding is it might even be made in like India or something like that. It is not made in the USA because, as I said earlier, Lodge is the only major manufacturer of cast iron in the USA. And if any of those other companies became big enough to compete with Lodge, we would know it. So therefore, it has to be made somewhere else. It's interesting, though, how those Bruntmore cast iron pans all seem to have the look and feel of a modern day Lodge. So evidently Lodge is doing something right if the competition is copying them. Granny Graham, I never find a good deal on cast iron Goodwill, and Salvation Army here don't have any. When I acquired, the lady says it don't make it to shelves. They have someone who buys all of the cast iron. I would not be surprised. Goodwill has their own online auction site, for instance, and so they do in fact sell their own stuff there on their auction sites. I really can't recall finding anything good for cast iron at Goodwill either. I've practically given up browsing Goodwill, and only rarely do I browse Salvation Army too for that. Savers is not bad. I've actually found a couple of nice pieces at Savers. But it takes a lot of looking and a lot of patience. If you walk into any Savers, chances are the cast iron you'll see there will be cheap, discarded, Asian made, that kind of thing. Once in a while, there will still be a good score at Savers. Oh yeah, almost 10 years ago, you know what I found at Savers for $3? A Griswold glass lid with the Griswold logo on it, no less. I got it for $3 there. So yeah. And then I ended up donating it to the National Dutch Oven Gathering because I figured I was never going to use it. I'd be too afraid of breaking it. You think we're getting close to the time for the big reveal? Hopefully. So what do you think, folks? I mean, besides, yeah, you're right, Papa Dan. We've got 87 people watching. And thank you very much again for everybody, because I do believe it is time for the reveal. So let's start with Stumpy, especially since this lid is so big. Here we go. Oh, yeah, ho, ho. Man, oh, man. Or as you might say, hooah! All right, put this down. Ow. Wow, that's hot. But looky here, folks. And yeah, most of the liquid is gone at this point. It's absorbed. You know what? We've got ourselves some jambalaya here. And this one, of course, is courtesy of good old Stumpy. Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Oh, man. On the other hand, this is the one everybody's been waiting for, including me. With this Volrath lid, we now reveal from the Red Mountain more jambalaya. Oh yeah, now that the lid is off, let me 1 second. Let me see if I can do a close up of this. Like I said, on this Volrath here, I hope you can see it. You see, it's Volrath, and it says made in USA. So yeah, I'm quite happy to have this lid. Anyway, there it is here as well. We have jambalaya, chicken and sausage jambalaya. Oh, this looks good enough to eat. There we go. Now it's definitely time to turn the burners off completely. But there it is, folks. Oh, yeah. Now, after all this, as far as the Battle of the Beasts is concerned, it's really hard to say who the winner is, isn't it? I know. I might just wimp out and say this was a tie, because both of these look pretty darn good. Some of this sausage has some char on it. And over here on Stumpy's side, oh yeah, we have no shortage of jambalaya. Now all we've got to do is start pushing this off on our relatives, friends, strangers, and so on. But nonetheless, here it is. Jambalaya, made in 2 Birmingham Stove Range number 14 Monster cast iron skillets. Well, they didn't call it Monster, but really, when you're talking about Birmingham Stove Range in general, the words that best describe them are things like beast, monster, tank. You get the idea. And boy, did they ever live up to that reputation. It's a tie, says Pip Gorn. I can almost taste it. Stumpy looks like the winner, says Dory. How many people are coming for dinner? Not enough. You could always take some to your neighbor. Yeah, that's probably what we're going to do. Maybe he'll understand the work you're doing that day and not call the cops again. Certainly tempting, yeah. Okay, now for a little bit of a test here. Let's dig down deep here. Dig up a little bit right here. Blow off the steam. Oh, yeah. Really don't have anything else to say. Except that, let's give Stumpy a try here, shall we? While we're at it. Oh, man. Oh man. Oh man. Give me a day or so. I could probably eat all of this. Ooh. I can taste the heat too. Oh man. Oh yeah, it is warming my stomach, in fact. I am happy about this. And I'm especially happy for that everybody here took the time to drop by and spend some time here on YouTube Live. I mean this sincerely, and I say this every week because I mean this every week. This is, as I said, this is a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun making all this. It was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun. The effort is definitely worth it. And what especially makes it worth it is sharing all of this with you folks. And I can only say then that thank you. Oh, yeah, you sound just like you're making love. Well, yeah, I guess you could say, yeah, I'm making love to my mouth. But cornbread would make that meal perfect. Yeah, short handle. Yes, exactly. But again, all I can do is thank you very much to everybody who took the time to show up and take part in the chat and enjoy my blathering on and on and on here. And I can only hope, as I said, that you folks find this entertaining as much as I do. I'm enjoying these live videos, and I really want to keep on doing this because they are so much fun. And it really, the reason why they're fun tonight is because of you folks. So I can only thank everybody so much for showing up here. Now I'm going to have to put these things into containers and start dishing out jambalaya. So I appreciate, as always, everybody for showing up here, and I can only thank you so much for your time, folks. So now I guess all I can do is once again end up with my favorite quote from 2001: A Space Odyssey, and that would be, "See you next Wednesday. Have a good evening, everybody. Thank you once again."